Ready?
Might as well.
Okay. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, and published in the Asbury Park Press on January 10th and revised by email on June 2nd, 2017. Roll call.
You? Yep.
Mayor Coles?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Miller?
Here.
Committeeman Lichtenstein?
Here.
Committeeman Ackerman?
Here.
Committeeman Delia?
Here. Tom, it's all yours.
Everybody, the room folder, please.
Maroon. You're a maroon. More.
No, it's too dark for morph.
First on the agenda is drainage, and the mayor wanted to have Jeff come in and now explain exactly what this is about.
Right, basically I was asked to look at for like a township-wide drainage plan, something for new developments coming in, not necessarily ones that are putting in new roads, new infrastructure, because they're complying with stormwater regulations and installing basins and the like. It's more of existing homes building on existing roadways. And what we looked at was basically a lot of the underground recharge systems consist of about 24-inch or 30-inch pipe in a stone bed. So what we did is we ran the cost of what that would be, including inlets every 400 feet, and that works out to about $150 per linear foot. So that if somebody were to come in to build a house, then they would pay into like a storm drainage fee of whatever their frontage is, times it by $150, and then eventually then the township would use that money to construct a township-wide recharge system throughout the township.
I'm trying to understand it. This is rainwater runoff?
Correct. So if somebody comes in, there's a vacant lot, they want to build a house, now they're going to build a house. They're adding the roof, driveways, sidewalks, impervious surfaces. The ordinance basically says drain it towards the street and go forward from there, but a lot of the streets and parts of the town don't have stormwater management system, which is why currently we're installing drainage over on Albert Avenue. We did some on another section of Albert Avenue, we're doing some in Ridge.
And this would be for new homes or additions also?
That's depending on how the committee wants to do. You can say new homes, you can do for additions greater than 500 square feet, greater than 1,000.
Because it adds up, like $150 per linear foot means a 50-foot lot would pay, every 50 feet you'd be paying $7,500. When someone
Correct.
does a project, it's $7,500, $10,000, $15,000, whatever,
Absolutely.
depending on.
How much, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you back there. How much are we spending on the Ridge Avenue, the Albert Avenue drainage?
Albert Avenue drainage, I'd have to check.
Rough guess.
I want to say 300,000.
So do we take this and dump it on the township, or?
Yes, this is the age-old question, even when it comes to sidewalks. When you put sidewalk in front of someone's house, do you say, charge a person that lives in front of the house and they get charged? Or do you say, no, this is something for all the people walking back and forth, why stick it to the guy that lives here? This is a solution for everyone, it's a town solution, it's not something just for the homeowner that lives there. This is a solution, you live in this town, there's certain bits that when we fix a pothole in front of someone's house, we don't build that guy. It's done for the whole, this is something, we live in the town, you pay taxes to the town. I'll never forget, many number of years ago, when I was a little boy, the township came and put sidewalks on Forest Avenue in front of my parents' house. I remember my dad saying, I don't want sidewalks, but people are walking to ShopRite and need the sidewalk. So, and it put something in my head, which was, we're doing something for the town, not for the person, not specifically for the homeowner, it's done for the town. If it's done for the town, that goes under the broader town picture, the way I look at it. So, while I happen to agree with Jeff, I happen to agree that charge a homeowner something, and starting, it was a vacant lot, and let it be I don't think it should depend upon how big your lot is. This guy has a 100-foot lot, this guy has an 80-foot lot, and the house is gonna be the same size, same amount of road runoff, but I don't know necessarily that it's the linear foot of how wide your lot should be what should be the charge of the fee. It might just be a flat fee per house or something like that, but I don't know that necessarily that's the amount to say what that should be.
Is this something the MUA gets involved in at all?
No, this is just stormwater.
The Albert Avenue is one of those streets that years ago, there was no drains, no sidewalks, no
I know
curbs,
where it
and
is,
the
yeah.
water runoff seeped into the ground. And as people are beginning to build now we're required to zero tolerance, we make everyone put in sidewalks and curbing, now water's beginning to puddle up and run down the street, and that's what's creating the problem. Problem didn't exist years ago, because it was the old style town where the water would just run into the
But
ground.
what about then this fee as it applies to new construction? Like you said, we're already requiring to put in
Right.
sidewalks and curbs. They may be able to put the system, if they put the system in themselves, or is this something that has to be done?
You could
As a
have them put the
township
system
project.
in themselves. The problem with doing that is, if I have a street that slopes down here, obviously you want to put the inlets towards the lower end and every 400 feet. The guy comes in that's not at the end, not 400 feet, he comes in, what is he installing? Is he installing the inlets that are gonna be $3,500 a pop, one at each end, and a small section,
Okay,
and a small section of piping?
sue that chair.
All right?
Your flag.
You know, and then when the guy comes in at the end of the, on the bottom of the hill, is he also then putting an inlet and whatever, and the piping? You're gonna wind up with a lot more inlets than needed, jacking the price up a lot more for the overall system.
And if while you put in the inlet, you disturb the last 1% of the 20% of the road.
And then the drive-
So by the time you're done, you build one house, you put in all the sidewalks,
Jeff.
curbs, roads, you do.
Sounds like a good deal for everybody else.
Yeah.
Chair,
I don't know
I
if
have a
that's the right
question.
thing to do.
You got to this price per foot
Right,
by,
we do a bond estimate for different projects.
Correct.
So I looked at a system and said, okay, if you put in a 30-inch pipe in a 4.5 foot by 4.5 foot stone trench with inlets every 400 feet, divvy that up, come out with a price per foot. That's what I did. It was like 140 some odd dollars, but it's rounded up to 150.
did you check around to see how other towns are handling something like that?
I don't know of other towns having something like that, but I can look into.
I was just wondering, it seems like the deputy mayor said, it seems kind of high. I would go more with a flat rate.
And I wonder if we shouldn't look at a complete flat rate. In other words, right now, if somebody builds a house or a construction project that's 1,000 square feet or more, I believe, they have to put in sidewalks and curbs in front of the house if there are none existing.
Correct.
Okay, every house needs to have has to go to engineering first, right? So somebody wants to build somebody in my neighborhood just built a house, I saw two big pipes coming out of the ground. I thought they had septic, but I know we have sewer, so why are you doing septic? Like, no, the inspection department or engineering department had us put in an underground recharge system. This is a single-family house. And they lived there. It was a single-family house before, now they're building a large house. So here is somebody that's coming on their own property. Okay, in many cases, it may just be a vacant piece of property that they bought, not that they lived on before. And they're building a house, they're putting in recharge systems, sidewalks, curbs, fixing the road, unless, we work out the amount, putting in the drainage on the street. It comes to a point where they're like supporting the entire infrastructure. I'm not saying that if somebody builds a house, that they shouldn't have to pay into it, but, at some point, you're making them pay for everybody else's usage. It just doesn't sound fair to me. I mean, what would the cost be if you took a typical 50-foot lot? Somebody, or not 50 foot small, let's say 75, so let's say a 75-foot lot. What would you say a typical single-family house on an R12 or an R15, what would the frontage be?
What with the 75-foot lot?
It'll be
Okay,
70 to 90 feet.
$10,000 probably.
What?
The fee would be $10,000.
On a typical R12 or R15 zone, single-family lot, somebody's putting up a house or putting on an
If it's
addition of 1,000 square
75 feet
feet.
wide, right, it'd be $10,000.
Yeah, but-
So if somebody lives in an R75, or an R10, somebody lives in an R10 zone and they want to add 1,000 square feet, right? All this would get triggered, correct?
That's up to the committee to decide what you want it to trigger, whether it triggers additions, whether it triggers new houses. This is just
So let's
preliminary
take the new
concept.
houses. Let's take the
Right.
new houses. So I go all the way to where it would for sure be triggered. So if somebody has, in an R10, somebody takes a lot and they build themselves a house. They gotta put in 75 feet worth of sidewalk and curb many times, correct?
Right?
What's an approximate cost for that, if you had to think?
It's probably about $5 or so a square yard, so 80 feet, 80 times 4, 320 square feet times about 5, about
1,500 bucks.
15,000.
$15,000. Curb,
Probably another 6,000,
so it's $20,000 in curb and sidewalk. What would this be?
10,000.
$30,000. What would it cost to restore a small part of the road if they put this in?
Couple $1,000,
What's a couple?
depending on how much they disturb, but typically it would be between $5,000 and $20,000.
So take 5. So, but it, with all these things, we're at $50,000 before you put a shovel in the ground to build yourself a single-family house.
1 second, Jeff,
Just-
that number's off, though.
Yeah,
Sidewalks are
you know-
not 15 grand.
No, it's,
I think you meant 1,500?
1,500,
Yeah.
3 times 5.
Okay, I
Amazing.
apologize. So
Amazing that-
instead of 50,000, okay, it's $35,000. I'm just picking, I wonder if we have to take a concept, we have to look at what it costs for a single-family homeowner who buys himself a single-family lot to build a house, at what point do the costs, before you put a shovel in the ground, what's it gonna cost you?
I think there's a philosophy, inherent philosophy question, which really boils down to the philosophy of what you say is you've moved into a town and part of the infrastructure is a town responsibility and you pay taxes into that for that reason. And how much of it do we say, no, we're making the homeowner's responsibility? So the way I look at it is, if you're enlarging your house and all that, we make you put the sidewalks in, we make you all that kind of stuff. Yet, if it's a property or it's a development, let's do Albert Avenue. Albert Avenue is in existence already. We're going in there. We want to enhance the area because we know the area has an issue. We're going in there and fixing up a problem. I don't like billing the person that lives there because he has a problem because he lives there. And that's, again, it's a philosophy question. I think in general, we have to ask ourselves what's considered part of what's the infrastructure and what the mere fact that you live in your house and you pay taxes into the system, pothole in the road in front of you, does that get repaired by the town, or do you fix that yourself? I think
the
What do they
people
do
who
in other
live in the
towns?
neighborhood, when their houses went up, paid towards that infrastructure with the cost of putting their house up. So the flip side of the same coin, I'm not saying I disagree with you, is
Right, right.
why should somebody who comes in after the fact not have to pay anything towards?
You could
Do you have
announce,
drainage on
Infrastructure
your block?
Yeah, I have storm sewers on my block that were put in when the development was made at the expense of the development.
you could announce.
So yes, I paid towards
down
the,
street,
By buying a
And
house?
they run a line down the block,
Mhm.
and there's a mandatory hookup order.
Special assessment.
Seems to me that,
There's a statutory formula for that, that's why I asked if the MUA was involved, I didn't think it was.
So the water
That's
company
typically-
does that. If they pass by your house putting in water now, they could mandate that you have to pay the hookup fee into that.
Right, and
Right,
But this is stormwater, not
I know,
sanitary sewer.
It's the same analogy, though, but,
Yeah.
it's costly to the homeowner.
I'd love to know what it would cost for I'll pick a few other towns in the area, just to get a feel. What does it cost to go to an R10, R12, R15 lot and put up a single-family house in Southport? In
They still-
engineering costs.
They still have to do sidewalks and curbing, that's mandatory.
I
in
know,
every community.
Of course,
And-
I'm
and
not,
Think of what town
And I'd
you
just like
go
to say
to.
one thing about the stormwater. They move in, they put in curbing and sidewalk, and they don't have to do anything with stormwater, and 2 days later, I get a phone call, we have a rush here, now we have a big puddle in front of our house, what are you gonna do about it? So there has to be something that they have to pay.
nobody's
that's
saying
what
no.
triggered the whole Albert Avenue project, the one we're doing on Ridge, the
Right.
ones we did by 14th last year, all because we allowed things to go up, but
Without
didn't take care of that issue
The
going in.
drainage. I am not disagreeing with the fact that if somebody contributes toward the problem, they gotta pay toward the cause. I'm good with that. Excuse me, but I think we have to see where we're going with the cost. At what number are we gonna be at on typical houses, and look in other houses? In other words, if before you put your shovel in the ground, and I don't know this number, it's gonna cost you 70 grand, that's astronomical. That's an astronomical number for
We didn't come close to that when we were just talking now.
I know, I just picked the number out of my hat. If it's
If it's 5,000, it'd be a great deal.
And if it's 15,000, it might be fair. I don't know, if we look, maybe, I would love to see what our cost would be, what other towns do, and get a feel for what the cost is.
Well, I think Jeff has told us what the costs are, what the actual, numbers would be to put it in.
And that's the number just for the pipe system. Now, obviously, when you do it, you're disturbing the roadway, you'd have to restore the roadway, so that's gonna be an additional cost. This is just, the thought would be that if you're going to implement this type of ordinance where you're collecting a stormwater maintenance fee, that it's gonna be part of also with like a road maintenance program, where we're going in to resurface roadways, and there's drainage problems, we would do the drainage first, and then coming in doing the road program.
Using the
thereafter
money from these fees. But that,
to do the drainage.
right, but that also means that I pay in front of my house and someone else is getting drainage somewhere else.
That's something that has to be worked out, right?
So Not
Seems to me that we're running into this problem, and I agree with you, both, all of you, that it's a lot of money. But I guess we're inheriting a problem that by allowing, and this not being done as the subdivisions were being put in, or as these developers were building.
Is
Well,
it-
subdivisions are being put in
I think
with those.
subdivisions do have it, I think this is.
Not all of them. I mean,
Major subdivisions have to comply with stormwater regulations. Minor subdivisions,
Right.
taking as lot splitting or duplexes,
Right,
administrative.
right, that's what I'm
They're
talking
not.
about.
They're
It's
not.
the little ones.
Do they have to
It's
do,
those ones that are contributing and are a larger factor because it's a smaller project. It could be 75 feet wide, you're splitting the lot into, you got two lots 37.5 feet wide, and you have, the water's just running out to the street. Previously, like you said, the water might have ran off the street into the grass area,
Mhm.
and now with
Puddling it.
two driveways in that location, they're mandating the curbing and the sidewalk, there's no place for the water to go.
So that's exactly what I was, I think Minash was saying the same thing before. So if you have 75 feet, so if you put a single-family house, you're paying a full 75. If you put, like you said, if you split it, you're paying half. I mean, you're encouraging people to do halves, basically, as opposed, if the costs are so astronomical to do single-family, it makes the property even harder to develop regular, typical, single-family houses, if people want them. So maybe it's a per-house cost.
So that's exactly, so Mayor, what I'm thinking is like this, Jeff brought us this information, this is data. Jeff supplied us now with data. I think it's up to the committee now to decide what exactly that
I would
should
like
be.
a little more data, if I can ask. I'd love to get an average from soup to nuts, what it would cost to cut out 2 or 3 scenarios, what it would cost per house.
Feel free.
Everything from curbs, sidewalks, drainage, road restoration, typical pulling the utilities, which I guess is the regular road restoration, recharge system, on average, if you're going to have them do that anyway to keep whatever water on the property because of the increase in impervious coverage. Driveways, because there's, you want the extra spots depending on the house, right? We've increased our
I don't want the
off-street
extra spots,
parking.
that's what's required by ordinance, it just enforces what your ordinance says.
No, it's a good thing. This is not necessarily a bad thing. I just think we have to know what it is that we're talking about. Get maybe 4 scenarios, see what it would cost, and then call around to other towns and see what it costs there.
I would also say, there are a lot of houses that recently got built, and I know a neighbor of mine also put up a house, and the town required him to put his own underground recharge system, dug it out, put the culverts in and all that. That being said, he's not having too much runoff. It's all being into the ground in those perforated pipes and everything like that. He doesn't have that much runoff.
The major factor contributing from a house is the driveway.
Driveway.
And when you put the curb up, you stop the water from flowing into an area where it can percolate into the ground.
Would they have, Minash brings up a good point, if somebody paid toward the drainage on the street, would they be paying less for drainage on their property?
However you adopt the ordinance, that would get
What
drafted.
would you think, if it happened today?
Well, you can go into a whole bunch of different questions with regards to that. Like, let's say a house in Ray's community decides to build, tear down and build something else. There's already a storm drainage system in place in there. Are they contributing? My suggestion would probably be no, if there's already a system in place.
The guy had a driveway beforehand. Just because his house went up 2 more stories, that didn't
Right.
make anything.
More impervious
If
coverage.
they are putting recharge in the back, it's gonna become a timing question, because they're constructing their house, the recharge system can be built now. They're gonna pay into a fund, we might not do the street for 5 years, 15 years, some point on the future. So I would say, yes, put the recharge system in your backyard or in the yard for the house, and eventually when the town does for the street, then that gets done.
I have a different question. What would we say, again, we're paying because of the issue that's happening in that area. Might it make a difference if you're in an area that already has drains, already has curbing?
Of course.
Or you're in an area that didn't have it, and therefore, since, like, for example, Abbott Avenue would have been a perfect example of an area to say, anyone building here now from here on in this area, this would be a fee coming to you because we're doing this project there. Whereas if you're in Ray's neighborhood where it's already set into place, just because you tear down a house, put up a new house, you're not,
Same thing with, unless you
Yeah.
destroy the sidewalks and curbs,
yeah,
there,
exactly.
you keep them.
That's what I would say.
Right.
You could probably almost split it up to, in the way that we have the transportation improvement districts.
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
have like 5 districts in town.
This will be a
You may
district.
need
If you're in this
You
district-
may need a smaller area for
I would be very,
for drainage.
I would be in
but-
favor of
But you
that.
understand that you could contribute to it, and your block might not get done for 10, 15 years. So in a way, it makes sense to make it blanket, even if the area already has, everybody should contribute.
I think that's.
Because nobody knows if they're ever even gonna see that drainage in their neighborhood, right? If one house gets built on a
But people
single,
might argue, like, and I don't wanna use your example, but you have drainage in your area, people might be paying a premium for houses in that neighborhood because there is a drainage system versus other areas which are prone to flooding.
So that's,
food for thought. But
Well, let's think about it, guys, because the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
reason this is here is because we've got hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table repairing drainage issues throughout the town, because we haven't addressed this in the past, so, I mean, Jeff, if Mayor wants you to see if you can get a couple of towns locally, if you can, let's go with that, but I think this is something we really have to, and one way or another, guys, look, if you want to impose a flat fee per permit, if you want to have an option of a backyard discharge or whatever, recharge, as opposed to onto the street, I mean, let's come up with some options, because I don't want whoever inherits this chair next year to have to take the phone calls about, I can't get out of my house in the wintertime because the entire street is a frozen puddle.
I mean, I like the idea of a fee as opposed to them constructing it. But one of the benefits of them constructing it is, one, they could do it cheaper than a town can. Two, if you allow them to tie their roofs into the system, then they don't have to put a recharge system necessarily in their backyard, so there's that cost savings to them just in putting it in. But then the first guy coming in, he's putting an inlet at either side, and now next guy's, you know what I mean? You're getting a lot more inlets throughout the street.
Can I just ask one thing, what about a neighborhood assessment? What if the town puts it in on a given street, and like you do with other improvements, a roadway?
I believe that's the way it used to be done.
Okay.
Years ago, I
I'd
believe
be
that
against
if they put curbs and sidewalks
Yeah.
in,
Sure,
it
you
was
do
added
it,
to your tax assessment for so many years. Am I correct on that?
that's the way it used to be done.
Yeah.
That's the way it used to be done, like,
and that's not,
we moved away from that from the reason I said before.
Okay, so,
Got it.
All right,
Good
number
to
two,
go.
Jeff, again.
Okay, the
Number
road
two is
restoration
road-
ordinance,
Yes.
basically, just to highlight some of the changes was, look to increase the fees, just because the fees have not been increased in probably about 10+ years or so, so it's just looking to keep that.
What percentage?
It varies from, it goes 25% to,
They're standard
20%.
couple $100 fees,
Right.
we're not talking thousands of dollars.
right, it went from $100 to $125, or $125 to $150, basically up to $25.
The percentage may sound high because the numbers were low.
Right.
Numbers are low, so $100 to
Okay.
$125.
Basically, the key difference between this ordinance and the prior ordinance is in section 20-1.6, which deals with requiring the person that disturbs the road to pay a non-refundable fee of $50 a square yard, minimum fee of $250. So if you disturb the road, if you disturb 10 square yards, you're paying a fee of $500. And basically what that fee is then meant to be is to go into a fund for road restoration. And all that that person is restoring is what they disturb. So if I go and open up a 3x3 hole in the road, backfilling it, putting in 6 inches of DGA, 4 inches of base, and then after the time period, when that's settled, I'm coming in, 1 foot around it, saw cutting, putting in top. That's it for the road restoration
Plus there's a
requirements.
fee,
What?
plus there's a fee,
Plus that fee,
which is how much per square yard?
$50 per square yard.
so a
And
3x3 would be
I'm in favor.
$150.
Well, a 3x3
fees are coming into a
would
fund
be
9 square
to
yards.
pay for it.
1 square yard.
Oh, three by
Right.
three.
Right. That would be 1 square yard, we have a minimum fee of $250.
They paid to Council Lakewood to be doing a.
And that's how much it
municipal
cost
engineer.
us,
That this money
$250?
could be going to-
Doesn't cost us anything.
No, when we redo the road.
The $50 per square yard is
Homeowner pays it, right?
what it costs to restore the roadway with that 6 inches of DGA, 4 inches base, 2 inches top.
So they're paying, they're doing
The
it.
$250 fee was just a number to put in there to have, to cover yourselves for the smaller trenches and the like.
Can I go backwards for a second?
Yep.
permit fee, $25 each opening. So it's one from 100 to 125, from 200 to 225, from 150 to 175. Whose fee is this, and what is this fee for?
That goes to the township.
And goes to the township, and from the township goes to?
We don't know, it goes to the finance department.
Goes in the general
I'm
fund.
sure
for
Goes to
they
the
have
year.
it
that was my
tagged
question.
Actually, no, that goes into a number for our inspectors to,
That's what I-
they charge.
That's what I wanted to
for the
know,
road
because it
restoration
says, the following
requirements.
scheduled fees hereby fixed determined, established fees to be paid to Lakewood Township to be drawn upon by the municipal engineer.
Oh, the street opening permit?
Yeah, so if
Right.
these
Yeah,
per,
that goes to them.
There's a $25 fee that gets put towards the township, and then there's these fees that go towards inspection services.
so for each person, so, got it, so this is your,
Inspection services got 25 to 50% more expensive?
that's exactly what I'm asking.
No, but a lot of times, especially on the smaller projects, because it's people that don't know exactly what they're doing, and they go, all right, come out and inspect, come out and inspect. You're just going out there 5, 6 times on a road opening project, where if the person knew what they were doing on a larger project, you're only going out there once.
I don't want to be blunt.
Realistically, from the engineering department side, we collect that fee, but as to exactly what the balance is, the finance department monitors that account
Right.
and the ins and outs. So really, all we do is collect the fee, and all we can say is that we've been collecting the same fees for the last 10, 15 years. You may want to increase them, but as to the exact breakdown, we don't have that information.
Are you guys running into problems with balances in the accounts for these kind of
I
inspections?
actually don't think so. I'm just
That was my
seeing a
question.
trend of where inspectors are going out, like I said, on the smaller projects and holding the hands, and especially with the ordinance, the way it was written with regards to, are you over 20%, less than 20%?
So that's resolved now, though, with this change
Is
to the
that the
ordinance.
person, so you're going out there multiple times, and then don't want to run into a problem then where that balances were
We
running
can't,
low.
we can't write an ordinance that most of us don't understand and expect people to understand and then charge them more for trying to explain it to them.
That's exactly. If there's not a, the way I look at it, if there's not a problem, why am I just increasing an ordinance? Just because it hasn't been increased in 10 years, great, let's just increase it. There are many things in town that just has been the way it's been for many years, and unless there's a problem, then I'll fix it if there's a problem. What I'm understanding now is it doesn't necessarily sound like we have a problem,
I
that
can
we're
check with
running
finance
short.
as to what the balances
Yeah.
are and see if there's a trend that it's slowly decreasing and that you want to nip it in the butt to make sure it doesn't run out.
Do you keep track by job of what the expenses are, or is it just once the permit's issued, you follow it through until it's done?
On the smaller, the single-family homes, there's a general number that's charged for the different road opening permits.
Mhm.
So it's
No, what
not,
I'm saying is, you're saying that, you have to go out several times, so do we know if these small permits are actually costing you $200, or they're costing you the 100 that we're currently charging, or maybe $75? We don't have any idea?
I'd have to look into that.
All right, guys, are we good with the section 1.6, though, about changing the fee for the actual road work that we're gonna be paid into us?
Deposits, you mean, this part? I was looking at this part.
Right,
Sorry.
1.6 is the non-refundable deposit.
Just so I understand, if I disturb 9 square yards, I'm repairing it and I'm paying the deposit?
Correct.
So I'm paying for it twice, basically. I'm just trying to understand. And the reason that we're paying for it twice is because we want it done temporarily, but we know that eventually we're gonna have to do the entire road, so we need to collect money to do the entire road.
Correct. It's kind of like your pro rata share for what you disturbed for eventual restoration of
And
the
you're done
road.
with this 20%, it's just what you actually did. So in other words, you're allowing the homeowner to fix the road so that cars can get over it without losing their tires.
Mhm.
And then eventually, when you redo the entire road, then it will have been
Paid for.
repaved and to end, paid for by whatever it is that you disturbed, you will have paid for.
Correct.
I think that's fair, but I think you should put that into that algorithm that we were discussing before
What algorithm?
of costs, that,
Per
what
house.
it's gonna cost you per house when you do this.
Okay.
Any
So
other-
at this point, what would be, someone who disturbs a roadway, at what point do we say now you have to pave curb to curb?
That's section 20-1.10C.
Okay, that was my question.
Right. If you go to that section,
Okay.
Basically, what that section did was if you disturbed the road, it broke it up into 4 categories. If you disturbed more than 20%, less than 20%, if the road thickness was 4 inches or less than 4 inches, depending on whether you did a reconstruction, resurfacing, or you did infrared, or you just did a patch repair, basically. This ordinance proposes to get rid of that. You disturb the road, you're putting back 6 inches of DGA, 4 inches of base, 2 inches of top eventually. Regardless of whether you did 20%, regardless if you did 95%, regardless if you did 2%, regardless of how thick the roadway is. The only provision I put in here with regards to percentages
So the 10%
is if the
it's-
road is under moratorium,
Moratorium.
since the town is doing a program for restoring the roadways, I know that there's gonna be emergency times or this, that, when someone has a hardship, this, that, whatever the reason, to have some sort of guidelines that if they need to open the roadway, okay, if you disturb less than 10%, so a relatively small portion of the roadway, you can restore it by infrared. If you disturb more than 10% in a road that's under moratorium, curb, mill to mill. Mill, curb to curb, I'm sorry.
You have to tell that to people though when they come in.
Well, that's
What
gonna
they
be in
have
the
for now in
ordinance.
the moratorium.
Right, but I'm
What do we
saying,
have? Infrared.
like, people don't necessarily know the ordinance. A builder comes in, he may not
Well,
even
the
know.
first thing they're gonna get is, no, we're
Yeah,
not
that's
approving that
more than
permit
10%.
because there's a moratorium.
Correct.
Then they're going to beg and cry and say,
Then
there's
they're
an
gonna come to,
emergency,
then
and
they're
we
gonna
say,
come to you
Then you'll
well,
ask for
explain it.
permission to open the moratorium.
No, but you'll,
You say yes.
right, but you'll, if there's a yes, you have to explain, because they shouldn't come
How
last minute
often,
and say,
how often does a
why am I?
single-family house have to disturb more than 10% of the road?
Your standard cut for just to get down to,
It's 10% of the road, right?
10% of what would be their frontage. Typically what happens is this, is for a house that comes in, they wanna demolish it,
Right.
build new.
right,
The gas company.
right.
Gas company needs to have the main disconnected, it's a 3x3 trench.
Because I want to know, 3x3 trench, okay,
And then they come back in to reconnect it, basically, probably in the same spot.
same spot.
So it's gonna be 1 square yard, it should not be more than 10%. It's going to be, you know, if I have a road that's 26 feet wide,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, every 10 feet's gonna be 260, so if it's 40 feet wide, you're close to 1,000
Yeah, it'd be like-
square feet.
It'd be less. Only time it'd be more
That
than
was the
10% is
question.
if you have to do a big job like water and sewer, where we make sure that the property owners know about it before we put in
The
these roads,
moratorium,
so they
exactly.
have a right.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I just want to be clear,
I'll go with
these,
that.
everything that we're talking about here, Ray, doesn't mitigate the planning board's capability and engineering, working with the planning board on developments and on typical this is more for your, feels more like it's the single-family homeowners, the
Somebody
single-family
who's hooking
lots.
up to gas, I really can't think of any other reasons why they might need to go in there. The water shut-offs are all at the curb already.
That's what I'm saying. These ordinances that we're talking about are usually not by the large developments or like stuff that go in front of the planning and zoning
Right, no,
board. This is
the
the typical single-family person who wants to build themselves a house or somebody who hires somebody.
Right.
duplexes or a subdivision along an existing roadway, let's over, I'll say, Sylvan Court, Williams, and I can do a couple projects over there.
Right.
It would be applicable to.
So I think the purpose here, we're trying,
So-
go ahead. The purpose of what we're trying to mitigate the problem that what happened was last time was that someone would do a single-family house, that 3x3, the road looked like horrible before he even began, but now that he did his 3x3, now the entire roadway
Right.
went excess, and now we made him repave the whole thing, even though that wasn't his issue. So we're getting away from that problem particularly.
Right, and the reason why we went that route was because
Because
previously.
you wanted to make sure our phones rang.
My side of the road, my side of the road, I came in and disturbed 18% of the roadway.
Right,
The ordinance said, just fix your side. You come in on your side of the road, you disturb 18% of your roadway, ordinance says, just fix what you did. And then I was getting complaints that said, this road's mostly all torn up, why isn't it being restored? And nobody to go after.
this will still happen again now, if everybody at the same time all decided to build, you would have the same problem.
But now we're gonna collect a fee
The
to
collective
restore
fee-
that. If you want to do that
Right.
area, you can.
Exactly, okay, got
Makes
it,
sense.
that makes sense.
So, what's the consensus, gentlemen?
I'm good on this 10.6. This is the.
Agreed.
What was it, 10 point?
Okay, Mike?
Yeah, 1.6.
All right, so we're good on this one, so Tom, you can get that
I'm not
prepared.
keen on the 1.5, but I'm keen on the
Get it to who?
1.6.
I'm sorry.
Well, what is it, guys? Do you want the fees left as is? Do you want to report on it first?
I want to report on it to know.
Because I'd like to get this through,
Right.
because there are people who this is messing
Right.
with.
Messing with. I think that if the fees are existingly covering it, and we're just increasing fees just because they haven't been touched in
Let's
so
do
many years,
this, in order to
leave
get
it
this done, let's leave the fees as is,
and move on this.
do the report, and if you come back to me and say that there is not enough money to cover the inspections, we can revisit it and do an amendment to it down the road. Okay?
Very good.
Yep.
Jeff, it looks like you did a pretty good job. You don't need anything from me on this, right? It's already completed.
Right, I mean, I'll just revert those fees back to what they were
Yeah,
and
okay.
send a copy to you. And the one thing, just later on in there, we did change, the start time for construction to 9
Yeah, it's
o'clock
9
because
o'clock.
public can work. Police going after that for the buses.
Thank you.
And for house number, we put the zoning officer as opposed to somebody appointed by the township manager, just because the zoning officer is the one that actually does it, so.
And all pre-construction meetings, I'm just asking you in general, pre-construction meetings, everything after 9 o'clock.
Right, that's what we typically tell everybody unless they get permission from the police to do otherwise.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
The ordinance should say that for whatever the reason is, we want to
Just
give
put
it,
it in.
beautiful.
Might want to run while it's good.
Thanks.
Thank you very much,
All right.
appreciate it, sorry to keep you
Thank
so
you very
late
much.
tonight,
All right, take care.
safe home.
All right, next on the agenda is our fire grants. We received the letter that everybody has from the fire department asking us to support them with a grant.
No
This
brainer.
basically
Yeah,
is a
what's the big deal?
grant, I think that would really help the community, the whole town. And if you see the second page. they've
Right,
got
they're not
a-
asking us for the grant.
They want a
they're just for
resolution
letter.
of support,
They
right?
just want a
Yeah.
letter.
All right, let's have the resolution for next meeting.
Well, we can do it from a motion from the floor tonight.
I'll make the
because-
motion.
Second.
Yeah, only.
Well, you gotta do it downstairs.
Downstairs, yeah,
Yeah.
only
All right,
because
so-
it's something very minor. It looks.
You guys remember? 'cause
I have a
I'm getting
question.
old and my
What does it even
memory's
need?
going.
Why don't you just write the letter?
They want support, and this, they did it formally.
It's an
They
official
have a
government
new-
action.
Got it. They want to see the resolution.
Administrator,
Okay, got it.
and they did it formally.
Got it.
All right, so let's make sure we do that.
All right,
So you want a resolution in support of this grant,
well, we're gonna do it from the floor tonight.
but I
It's a
gotta,
motion. No, I
I gotta
know.
write it to memorialize
Yeah.
it, so I just wanna make sure I'm right. So, do we have to mention fire district number 1?
I would just say, Lakewood Fire Company, right?
Right here, Assistant Firefighters Grant Program with a number, just the resolution indicating the township support of this number.
Yeah, exactly, okay, cool, I got it.
All right, we'll go with that. So someone will bring that up tonight? Thank you.
Yep.
I'd like to skip number 4 for me, because that may be a little while of discussion. I want to go over some of the easy stuff. Number 5.
How much time do we need for executive tonight? Half hour
I
enough?
would say no, but that'll get us there, so that's why I wanted.
All right, so let's put it this way, guys, let's get as much as we can at 7 o'clock, we're gonna break to go into executive to cover the other stuff,
Okay,
okay?
all right. I want to go to number 5, New Jersey Hand. You asked me to go to all our emergency organizations as far as parking on Coles Way. And everybody has letters that none of them really want to see parking because it would inhibit their, to get in and out of there during emergencies.
All right, so we're not, gonna go back to one-side parking?
And here it says no side parking, right?
Well, the request was, they wanted to reinstate parking on one side,
Correct.
and that's in all of the programs, or I should say, all the departments are against that, traffic and
Yes.
safety, public works, fire, school buses. Oh, well, get ready for the, petition to change Coles Way to Ackerman Way next week. I'll let them know.
Being mayor.
So what, we're not allowing it?
Yeah, we're not allowing it.
Why? That's what the residents.
Because traffic and, the residents want it. Traffic and safety says no, public works says no, fire department says no, LSTA says no. We create too much of a problem.
Recommendations from traffic and safety.
If you want to overrule all of them, get me 3 votes.
You're
Get
gonna
me
go
two and I'll
against-
keep
You're
Coles
gonna go
Way.
against all those organizations on a safety issue?
Ray, you said you'll handle this?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can still send a letter, but I'll call them in the morning and let them know.
Okay. Okay. Next is, let's skip,
Number 4 is here in the room.
I know, but I'm just blowing through some of the easy stuff.
All right,
Just-
all right,
We had a, number 13 is on the back page, we have a park request. They want to do a carnival on June 16th.
13? Oh, 13, we went from 8 to 13?
Yeah, I'm going over the easy stuff to blow it out real quick, so we can get,
Is there any conflict with it? Anything
No, it says the park is available,
Park's
so as long as it's
Yeah.
okay with Public Works and do we send these to
Yeah.
the
It's
police
fine.
department?
Okay.
Make sure they provide insurance if they're gonna have rides and stuff, please.
Okay.
okay. Katie, you hang on that?
Yes,
Thanks.
You know, we got insurance for that carnival that went to the.
yes,
Oh, right.
yeah. We spoke.
Remember that carnival that I did?
Yeah.
Paperwork.
Where are we now?
All right. Number 7 is another,
Easy one.
yes, and what happened is he changed the date from September 2nd to September 16th.
Well, it says September, oh, this is last year's flyer, never mind.
Yes, that's on a Saturday.
I'm okay with it if everybody
It
else
says
is.
September 17th.
No.
That's last year's flyer.
Yeah, no, I haven't.
And here it says September 2nd.
No, they gave me a different flyer, Mayor. The one you have is the one they sent me, but then they sent me another email.
That's from
I copied everybody on it.
2016, the flyer in the back.
And the front letter says Saturday, September 2nd.
No, it's, Mayor, look at me.
Another one.
This is the one that was sent to me just recently. I didn't have time to copy everybody.
Okay, all right,
This
all
is
right,
fine.
I'm good with it.
Yeah,
Mayor,
this-
Mayor,
okay.
What date are we doing again?
Waivers, variances, we did?
The second or
No,
the
not
seventeenth?
I
yet.
have no idea.
Okay,
Is it the
you'll
second or the 17th?
It's none.
It's
The
the
16th.
16th, Saturday,
16th.
September
Saturday, anything,
16th.
I'm cool with
Saturday,
Saturday.
16th.
Saturday, go right ahead, knock yourself
no
out.
problem with it all.
The Shabbos Carnival.
Katie, you got it, Katie. All right.
Katie's gonna give him 3 dates.
I know, right?
Number 8 is the Bethel Spanish Pentecostal Church. You know, they want to do the Wednesdays, 4 Wednesdays of every month, so we said we had to come back.
1 month at a time.
Okay,
Right, so they did, I guess they finished with June, they're probably coming back for July now, right?
Okay, yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
Right?
Okay.
All right, Katie. you
Have we had any complaints about it?
I
None.
haven't.
Katie, you good?
Yep.
All right. Okay, let me see where we're at here. All right, let's go back to number 4, which is waivers and variances. Mr. Zane sent me an email about applications of planning and zoning board when they want to request waivers or variances, and he came up with the idea that they should be on the front cover, so everybody knows exactly what they're going for, not hidden in the back.
I think it already says variance requested.
Says on the,
So they should have
on the
waiver.
agenda, says if a variance is requested or not.
Does it?
Publicly on the agenda.
Not for the side, not for the road improvement.
For improvement?
No. It says on the agenda, requesting waiver for.
Variance, for variance,
Side yard setback.
right?
It's a shame Ally just left, but, when they're not improving the side, the roadway, it's hidden inside Terry's report. It doesn't say, my suggestion that should be on the application cover. Everyone look at.
Just get
Okay,
up.
through the chair, can I ask a member of the public a question?
Certainly.
I don't understand what you mean. What kind of variance on the road?
You say when they do not want to,
To improve the roadway, let's say they have a box, a school or a house, they have to improve here, 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 and here, if it's a paper street. If they don't want to improve those 2 streets, let's say, then they don't come up and say straight up, we're here requesting a waiver for those 2 streets.
He's talking about waivers on sidewalks, roads, parking, what kind of waivers.
why, I mean, again, why can't we just have a rule that says any variance or waiver requested, be spelled out right up front?
I think the reason that they I imagine, Harold, you'll help me out with this, they probably have an all-inclusive thing that says any and all waivers, or variances requested, because in conversation with the board may say, well, we don't mind if you do this, but then we don't want you to do this. They'll say, okay, we'll do this, but then allow us, and that's something they may not have written in at the beginning. I'm assuming that's why it's like a global
Also, when the guy
request.
goes, when an applicant gets up there at the planning board they try to extol their virtues and say, we're gonna do this and that, and they don't say we're requesting a waiver from.
But doesn't the vote have to be on a
Oh, so
waiver?
the reason why they don't say it is because it's already in Terry's report, that it's not in the plans, so, as we say in Jewish way, it comes out from that you don't say yes, you hear the no, that they're not putting in the, I was at the planning board and I got up and I said, I didn't hear anything about that road, and they said, oh yeah, well, we're not doing it. And I said, well, why didn't you come and speak
I
about
don't see
that?
a problem with putting it on a cover sheet, say.
Yeah.
list- list
What
all
I'll
the
do
waivers
first
and-
is, I want to talk to Terry and to Terry. And then, again, maybe get together with John
Also,
Jackson
Ally,
and Jerry
talk to
Dasty
Terry
and,
And to Ally to make sure. we're not
yeah, well,
saying-
Ally is,
Could
could be
out.
involved in it, but yeah.
Could be wrong about
I
it.
agree 100%. I don't like the idea of any variance or waiver buried anywhere. Should all be up front. Just got to figure out the right way to do it, and I will make sure that we get something done on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Understand
you
the
wouldn't
va-
need it for the Board of Adjustment, because the reason that you're there is because you're looking for a variance.
Right,
So the
okay.
planning board is the appropriate forum.
The public notice has to publish the variances that are sought, and there's the catch-all always published with that, any and all other variances that may be.
I
required.
just want to
But there's
take
no
a
reference
step
to design
above and
waivers.
beyond
Yeah.
to make sure, because again, it's not the first time I'm hearing an issue where something wasn't mentioned. I want to make sure that if it's being asked for or granted, that everybody knows about it up front, doesn't find out about it after
So
the
in other
fact.
words,
Yeah.
not to eliminate, I understand what you're saying, not to eliminate the catch-all phrase, but if you know that you're asking for something, it should be listed.
Yeah, and what they've been doing probably is just following the order, the statute that says published for variances, and that's what they're doing
Well,
on the agenda.
we need to adjust it a little bit.
Sure,
Okay,
sure,
good.
especially if there's waivers for things that are that critical.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is number 6, Herb Seller. I gave him a call about this project because we had people say, oh, it's gonna be a single-family home. And, no, first it started out to be a birthing center, then I was told it was going to be a single-family home. So I called Mr. Seller and I said, what are you actually building on Mitchell Street? And he said, we wanna build a birthing center, but he goes, there's issues with the state that we're going into right now. We're hoping to get it, but if not, then he wanted to turn around, he wanted to put some type of business office there. And I talked to the police and I talked to the Public Works as far as getting back there. He wants to put, just a driveway in to get in and out. There's no issue from our standpoint.
Yeah, because if it's going to be a business or a birthing center, that's a commercial enterprise, we wouldn't be picking up their trash. So is Waste Management going to be able to get down and around that? I don't have a problem doing it, I'm just saying, I don't want to create I don't want garbage cans getting knocked off New Hampshire Avenue
Well,
if they drag them
They
down.
could go down, they could make it down with a smaller vehicle if they have to, but that's up to them to negotiate that, I
Here's what
think.
if I may, if it's a commercial building, it's gonna have to go to engineering anyways. Engineering will then make them put a road in. If it's just a single-family house, then I'm going with the driveway.
They're gonna put a driveway in, which is probably more like almost 2 lanes instead of just a normal 1-car driveway getting in and out, because you're gonna have traffic going both ways if it,
So
any.
you're comfortable with it, everybody else is comfortable with it?
Yes,
Okay, so we just, I guess, send it, to we don't give them any approval now, it goes to engineering, correct?
it goes back to engineering, yeah,
So-
but they just wanted to run it by us to make sure that we knew
All
about
right,
it.
what you can do if you want is send engineering a letter that says we discussed it, and we have no objection to the driveway as opposed to the full road being put in for this one use,
Okay,
okay?
yes, sir.
Are we telling him the width of the driveway, or is it?
That's up to engineering.
That's up to engineering to make sure that, what they need, they'll make sure that it has to be within whatever their guidelines are. I guess next we'll go to,
Six.
where's Steve? Mayor, you want to hold off on plan endorsement? Or you
Well, let's, why don't we do the 2 property requests? They're not closed for any reason, are they?
No.
Okay, let's get those knocked
Are
out.
they yellow?
We went through this, what was the story with this in the end?
I'm gonna tell them we can't do it,
Okay.
Yeah, yellow one, please,
and
everybody.
I'll sign the petition to change it to Ackerman Way.
The number one is Mark Chop built that office building over on America Way,
Yeah.
and he wants to add more parking in the back, but to do that, he has to go to get a CAFRA and do everything else. What he wants to do is turn over the back property to the township, and then we lease it back to him, and he'll put the parking lot in.
But this has to do with
Can you
numbers, if we're gonna
bypass?
talk about numbers now,
Yeah,
then
yeah,
it
you
could
can
be,
do that. If he turns the property over to us,
Right.
then we lease it back to him, he's still gonna pay the taxes on everything else, but he's gonna put the parking space in for, it's 11 or 12 spaces more.
I'm in favor of the idea if it create additional parking, but if we can discuss what the number should be or what the exact amount should be, then that would be a executive item.
I agree.
Okay.
And you can't do it for 99 years.
I'm sorry?
You can't do 99-year lease.
That's okay.
That's his request,
Yeah,
so.
we could do a yearly lease with it.
But theoretically, is the committee in agreement with that?
Yes, I
Yes.
am.
All right, so let's do this then. One of you guys figure out what the proper mechanism for it is, and then bring it back to us so it's something that we can actually move ahead with.
Okay. All right, next one is an ongoing request from us. It deals with the vacation of Evergreen. If everyone wants to take a look at the most up-to-date letter I have in front of everybody first.
This is across the street from Harrogate.
Yes.
Harrogate is asking us to do this as well as the developer.
And we discussed this last time, we said we have to hear from Harrogate, right?
Right, we did hear from Harry. Also, this has changed a couple of times, but basically, they want us to vacate part of Evergreen from Locust up to, I can't remember what this first
Who
street
owns
is.
who owns these properties?
I don't know the names of the people, it doesn't matter to me.
They're the ones requesting it also?
Harrogate owns the property
Right.
on Locust.
Right.
Okay.
Harrogate wants to take that and turn it into a open space.
Okay.
All right, vacate Evergreen, and those lots in front will become open. They will donate their property to do that, so that they don't have anything opposite where their residents are coming in. What the idea is to come up through the middle. Eventually, that street will turn down Evergreen, because these other streets aren't complete yet. In the meantime, what he's proposing is at the end of this street to put a cul-de-sac here until these streets go through. I told him, we had sent this over to Public Works, Fire, Bus, to make sure that the dimensions of the cul-de-sac were favorable.
And they are?
Yes.
Okay. Works for me then.
Harold, you take care of this, then?
Yeah, I don't understand it, but I'll vacate
All
whatever
right,
I
and
want.
make sure they have to come in and pay the fee.
Don't talk like that.
But
Steve, take him out to the woodshed, will you?
make sure they have to come in and they have to.
And Harold, if you do say that, only to me, because I don't want to vacate anything if I don't have to.
I know that, I know that.
This is Tom Taylor. Well, Cindy's-
All right, so they're done. All right, so you want to go back up to,
We can go to,
Executive?
I have a suggestion, Mayor, why don't you go into executive, because there is one issue that's kind of serious we should discuss, and then we can come back this time.
no, let's just say it at this point, I'm not going to ask these folks to worry about whether we're going to do something
Okay.
after that, so
Good idea.
we're going to finish our conference meeting now. If we get done with our close beforehand, we're going to end the meeting for now and go downstairs. We don't have to take any more action tonight, okay? You have my word as far as that goes.
I trust you.
Say that into the camera, please.
I trust Ray Combs.
What are we going into executive for?
Litigation, contract negotiation.
green. Sorry, green book, everybody.
Do I have a move for our,
Available to the public.
what's that?
I make a
We're
motion.
we're not going to open it back up.
No, when will this litigation that you're discussing now, contract?
Once, the only time you get that is when everything's been settled.
So it could be different times for different items on the
Correct.
agenda.
It could be tomorrow, it could be 6 months, could be a year, depends on the settlement.
No,
That's
just
all.
by law, you have to say it, so it may be safe.
Yeah.
Okay, we will release the minutes as soon as we settle the litigation.
The minutes get released at the next meeting.
Did we get a motion for closed yet?
No.
I'll move.
Moved by Mayor,
Second.
second by Minash. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Shlomo, what about this?
Okay, could I email you tomorrow?
Hold on.
I won't be in.
Oh, you want me to bring it downstairs?
Monday, even if we Monday.
Guys, shouldn't have to wait.
Rent, that's for.
It's only to get cash. Cool, I'm sorry.
Correct, and then go home and double check this.